talking about the missing middle, again, this isn't about the search for my six-pack that was lost many, many years ago. What I'm going to talk about is the transition money that will help organisations to make that very difficult leap from grant activity into trading. So hopefully this will bring out some of the thinking that we're going through with a number of partners around that subject. So probably it's worth summarising why we're interested in helping that transition. And I guess it's, as we all know, very difficult times, and there's a great deal of pressure on the sector to change. And I think we're almost in a situation now where the next round of cuts for a number of organisations, it's a grow, change or die. And that sounds very dramatic, but I think it is that start for some organisations. Reduction in public sector funding, which a number of organisations have been reliant on for a number of years. Grant funders are under more and more pressure. It is very challenging out there. I'll come back to what we're doing to try and work around that and help people to make that change. But maybe if I just start a little bit about the lottery fund. Absolutely right. We are known for giving away lots and lots of money, and there's great stuff that goes on with that. 40% of the good cause money that's raised by the National Lottery is distributed by the Big Lottery Fund. Other distributors, Sport England, Heritage Lottery Fund, Arts Council. We get roughly 11 pence of every pound, so it's not a bad slug of money, and it's around slightly higher than that. It's about 650 million a year that we invest. And we do that in two main ways. One is via our demand-led funding, which is the stuff that everybody knows, which is awards for all and reaching communities. And about half of that money goes out in that. And about half of the demand-led funding is actually awards for all. So you can imagine doing 100 plus million in £10,000 grants is a lot of activity. So lots and lots happening, lots and lots of organisations benefiting from the support, and I think making real positive change in communities, really targeted at areas and people most in need, but very much based on how we help organisations to deliver services. Alongside that, we have a number of strategic interventions which are more about how do we make real change and develop new models in areas in which we think there are growing problems for society or issues that are likely to become a growing issue, really helping the most vulnerable to deal with some of those problems, and engaging local people in new ways of doing that, and bringing in academic thinking, local perspective, and bringing all that together to really learn what works and what doesn't to make that change. And things like A Better Start, which is focused on pre-birth to early years, multiple and complex needs, which, as the name suggests, is for people who have really profound medical challenges or something that really has a major impact on their ability to live a fulfilling life, through to ageing better, not surprising given some of the challenges we're likely to face in the future with an ageing population. So really trying to rethink and redesign how services are delivered in the most effective ways. Alongside that is something that's a little strange, which is a social investment work, and I currently lead the social investment team in the Big Lottery Fund. A fairly modest budget, 100 million, which is modest in the big scheme of things. Quite frankly, I'd like 10% of that personally, and I'd be quite happy with that. But in the wider scheme, with 3 years, 100 million isn't that large compared to the other strategic investments, which are really big. And I summarised the rest of the organisation, well, not the rest of the organisation, but a lot of colleagues' attitude towards social investment as bizarre and irrelevant to what they're doing. Bizarre because they don't get it, and we spend a lot of time talking to colleagues and trying to help them to understand, because they're very much focused on a different kind of activity. Slightly irrelevant because they see us all in suits walking around talking about investment, and they just think, what are these guys talking about? It's nothing to do with what I'm involved in. In reality, I think it's just a bit of a mystery, and when we sit them down and when we get the opportunity to talk to them, they get it. I think it actually is fairly simple to get once you start to unpick it. We want to use money to help something to happen in a positive way. It's just the money that's a little bit different to the grant work. Why are we interested in social investment? And I think we're probably more interested in social enterprise development on its widest front. The reason we are is because we see this as a way to help organisations to become more sustainable in a very difficult time in both financial and impact terms, and both of those are very important to us. But we do recognise, as somebody pointed out earlier, I think everyone in social investment gets this, it's not for everyone. It is about a very small group of organisations that have potential, but the reason we are interested is if we can move those organisations along, if we can move them away from grant dependency, it allows us to deploy our grant to those organisations that never can. And there are organisations out there dealing with social challenges and issues that actually, it's very difficult to see a way in which they can generate money from that. So if we help some along the route, it allows us to use our money really, really effectively. And to date, we've done lots of work, focused really in three main areas, and one area that we're working on, which I'll come on to, which is about this missing middle. First one is around demand. So how do we help more organisations to be able to want to access social investment? And that's about giving the right support at the right time to organisations. And we've done lots of things like Big Potential. We've supported School for Social Entrepreneurs. We've supported Big Venture Challenge. So we started to build what we're calling a staircase of support. So wherever you are as an organisation on the journey towards using social investment and then growing with it, we're trying to build the structures that will allow you to do that, access the right support at the right time. So right from the initial stuff to the real high growth stuff. We've done some work around infrastructure, so this is about helping to put together the organisations that help connect the people who want the money with the people who have the money. And we've done some work around product design, around our Next Steps programme in that space. We think it's really important that's supported. So a little bit of work in that space. We've done some work around commissioning with our Commissioning Better Outcomes Fund, which sits alongside the Social Outcomes Fund that the Cabinet Office run, which is about helping people to be able to respond to opportunities in payment by results and social impact bonds. A very challenging space, so we're interested in that because we think it has potential, but it needs some support, certainly over the next few years. The last bit that we haven't done so much around is about supply of capital, and this is about, alongside the right support at the right time, we're also looking at how do you get the right money into organisations at the right time. We think this is a major barrier. There's lots of reports, so I see UK reports year after year talk about 60,000-ish, that's the average that people are looking for, but actually there aren't many organisations supplying that kind of capital in the market. There's other reports like Investment Readiness in the UK. We think it's about 60 to 80,000 that people are generally looking for. And it's right that we focus on that and we look at supply side, but what I would say is it's not just about the money. If we don't get the money and the support aligned at the right time, then the absence of one will not make this happen. It will fall over. But what's clear is there is an issue around 100, 150,000. The people have mentioned that. That seems to be the sweet spot where there's a real gap. What we're trying to do and what we want to do to address the missing middle over the next few years is to work with a number of partners to start to build these staircases. So on the support side, it's from how do you help people to look at their business and think about the ideas that can generate income. So right at the very start, support for those people who've got ideas, through to people who were already trading but need to grow, and then right through to people looking at large contracts and how do they really get into the public sector supply chains at the very top. There's a whole range of support that's needed in that space, and we're working to look how we do that. It won't be all big lottery fund, but it's about how we work with partners to make sure that there is a really clear path through that. We started to use our Big Potential website that Social Investment Business is delivering on our behalf to be a bit of a central resource for that, and we're hoping to build on that as we go forward. There's some great There's some great diagnostic materials on there, and we will build the information on there, hopefully to provide a really useful central hub for people wanting to do this. Alongside that, we're looking to build a staircase for investment, and this is about not just the size of deal available, it's about the type of money available. So we've been thinking about how, and Nick mentioned this and Winston mentioned this, how we use blended capital, so grant and loan in the middle where people are around, they're looking towards, to move towards profitability and then break through, then they can use unsecured debt and then into secured debt maybe as they grow and want to take on assets. But there's also a role for grant right at the very beginning of this journey, and we're working to look at that piece as well. Some of it's about using BLF money more strategically. So how do we use Awards for All? How do we use reaching communities within this development space to link people into our other programs and make sure that we get people on that staircase to grow. But it's also about other programs that we're working on. So Power to Change, that you may have heard about, is a new trust that's been established, £150 million with Big Lottery Fund money, very much focused on supporting local community enterprise, and that will have we think hopefully a major impact in helping people to take those ideas forward and move on. But it is really about how we knit all this together and actually provide a really coherent picture for people that are trying to access this support and move forward. It will take time. Nick mentioned, some announcements later on this year, early next year. Power to Change will be coming online, I think, early next year. So things are working. We do understand, I think, as organisations, that there are challenges, and we're trying to see how we can actually fill those going forward. And hopefully, as I say, in the next 6 months, there'll be some announcements that will start to follow through. So that's it. That's a missing middle from me. Thank you very much.